the potential negative aspect is that you can have people concealing their identity in order to troll, or even not people, bots. So how do you know in the metaverse that you're talking to a real human or an AI or a well-intentioned human? Is that something you think about, something you're concerned about?
Well, let's break that down into a few different cases. I mean, because knowing that you're talking to someone who has good intentions is something that I think is not even solved in pretty much anywhere. But I mean, if you're talking to someone who's a dragon, I think it's pretty clear that they're not representing themselves as a person. I think probably the most pernicious thing that you want to solve for is, I think probably one of the scariest ones is, how do you make sure that someone isn't impersonating you? Right. So you okay, you're in a future version of this conversation.
Yeah.
And we have photorealistic avatars, and we're doing this in workrooms or whatever the future version of that is. And someone walks in who looks like me. How do you know that that's me? And one of the things that we're thinking about is, it's still a pretty big AI project to be able to generate photorealistic avatars that basically can they work like these codecs of you, right? So you kind of have a map from your headset and whatever sensors of what your body's actually doing, and it takes the model and it kind of displays it in VR. But there's a question, which is, should there be some sort of biometric security so that when I put on my VR headset, or I'm going to go use that avatar, I need to first prove that I am that. And I think you probably are going to want something like that. So so that's, as we're developing these technologies, we're also thinking about the security for things like that, because people aren't going to want to be impersonated. That's a huge security issue. Then you just get the question of people hiding behind fake accounts to do malicious things, which is not going to be unique to the metaverse. Although, certainly in a environment where it's more immersive and you have more of a sense of presence, it could be more
painful,
more painful. But this is obviously something that we've just dealt with for years in social media and the internet more broadly. And there, I think there have been a bunch of tactics that I think we've just evolved to. We've built up these different AI systems to basically get a sense of, is this account behaving in the way that a person would? And it turns out, so in all of the work that we've done around, we call it community integrity, and it's basically policing harmful content and trying to figure out where to draw the line. And there are all these really hard and philosophical questions around where do you draw the line on some of this stuff? And the thing that I've kind of found the most effective is, as much as possible, trying to figure out who are the inauthentic accounts, or where are the accounts that are behaving in an overall harmful way at the account level, rather than trying to get into policing what they're saying, right? Which I think in the metaverse is going to be even harder, because the metaverse, I think, will have more properties of, it's almost more like a phone call, right? Or you're, it's not like I post a piece of content and is that piece of content good or bad? So I think more of this stuff will have to be done at the level of the account. But this is the area where, between the kind of counterintelligence teams that we built up inside the company, and years of building just different AI systems to basically detect what is a real account and what isn't. I'm not saying we're perfect, but this is an area where I just think we are years ahead of basically anyone else in the industry in terms of having built those capabilities. And I think that just is going to be incredibly important for this next wave of things.
And like you said, on a technical level, on a philosophical level, it's an incredibly difficult problem to solve. By the way, I would probably like to open source my avatar so that could be millions of Lexes walking around, just like an army.
Like Agent Smith?
Agent Smith, yeah, exactly. So the Unity ML folks built a copy of me, and they sent it to me. So there's a person running around, and I've just been doing reinforcement learning on it. I was gonna release it because just to have sort of thousands of Lexes doing reinforcement, so they fall over naturally. They have to learn how to walk around and stuff. So I love that idea of this tension between biometric security. You want to have one identity, but then certain avatars you might have to have many. I don't know which is better security, sort of flooding the world with Lexes and thereby achieving security, or really being protective of your identity. I have to ask a security question, actually.
Well, how does flooding the world with Lexes help me know in our conversation that I'm
Yes.
talking to the real Lex?
I completely destroy the trust in all my relationships then, right? If I flood, because then it's,
I think that one's not going to work that well for you.
it's not going to work that.
I mean,
for the original copy,
it probably fits some things. Like if you're a public figure and you're trying to have, a bunch of, if you're trying to show up in a bunch of different places in the future, you'll be able to do that in the metaverse. So that kind of replication, I think, will be useful.
Yeah.
But I do think that you're going to want a notion of like, I am talking to the real one.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if the fake ones start outperforming you in all your private relationships, and then you're left behind. I mean, that's a serious concern I have with clones. Again, the things I think about.